Yeah. You're not having a good day, dude. I can tell you in a second.
Are we streaming, Greta? Yep. I can see Dan, and I can see me. Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to All Things Brunswick. As you can see, I'm sitting here alone. No Dan, no Bill.
I'm
Bill
here. I'm just
Dan
about 30 miles away from you.
Right. Dan is with us this evening, but he is on video because he has been ill. And we wish you a quick recovery, Dan.
Oh, I'm recovering. I got the vid. So, I decided that prudence was the smarter thing to do and stay home, but join you virtually instead of being next to you so that I can share my wisdom, but not my germs. How's that?
I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Tonight we have a very special guest who is joining us. We have Dale Folwell, who is our state treasurer. Are you with us, Mr. Folwell? Do we lose him?
Live radio. Well, we can talk while TK tries to fix that.
Okay.
So, well, how are you, Mary? It's been a while since I've seen you. and a shout out to Bill, because Bill's away. He's visiting family.
Yes.
So if he's listening in, and I'm sure he is, hello, Bill. We miss you, and we'll see you back. He's got a couple of weeks before he's back, though.
Right. We miss you, Bill. And we hope you're having a great time. So, well, let me just give you a little rundown on our guest tonight. He has done some impressive things. And I think I'll share a little bit with the audience before he comes on.
I'm here.
We have him.
We have him back.
Are you with us, Mr. Folwell?
I'm here. I've been waiting and can't wait. Thank you.
There
okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. I was just telling the audience, Mr. Folwell is in his second term as our state treasurer. He has been so since 2017. He served 4 terms in the North Carolina House and 1 as Speaker Pro Tem. He was the head of the State Division of Employment Security. He has a master's in accounting, worked in investments. I think the most impressive thing that I read about you is that you rode a motorcycle in 48 of our states for the cause of organ donation. And that is near and dear to my heart. So I am blown away by that. Anyway, welcome.
Well, it's really great to be with you and actually set a world distance record. I could ride in all 48 states in less than 5 days. I rode 33,000 miles in 30 days. So
Wow.
That's the equivalent of going from Brunswick County to Oklahoma City every day for 30 straight days.
Good grief.
That is impressive, sir. As a fellow rider, my iron butt salutes you.
Thank you. But really glad to be back with you. I got such great response recently when I was on your show last time, and I'm glad to be with you again.
Well, we are so glad to have you. I would like you to let us know what you're doing. I know that each time we have you, or each time that we talk with you, you have something going on that is beneficial to us.
Well, what I'm doing is making all the right enemies. And, sometimes in order to get the right results, you do have to make all the right enemies. And, what that really means to your listeners is not attacking people, but actually attacking the problems that people are facing.
Right.
And, the citizens are not really that demanding. They just want to be spoken to like adults, and what they hear makes common sense. That's all they want. And we try to do that by selling results and not rage. And so coming on your show and talking about these issues that not only affect Brunswick County, but Buncombe County is very important to me. And so most recently, I got an award in Austin, Texas for healthcare transparency. And I was very honored to receive that. But the fact is that we continue to fight the healthcare cartel, continually concerned about the amount of what's happening with healthcare in New Hanover and Brunswick County as a result of New Hanover Regional being bought out by Novant. And, we're in the situation right now, as I said to your listeners last time, where people can't see themselves past their poverty, where ends will never meet, not because of the murderous invasion of Ukraine or COVID or acts of God, but because of healthcare billing. It's inexcusable, it's immoral, and it is not a Democrat-Republican issue.
Absolutely. I agree. Dan?
Well, one of the, it's funny that you mentioned that because I'm dealing with those type of issues myself regarding healthcare. My wife had a knee replacement or late January, and I've had some things come up, and dealing with the billing has caused more stress and more concern for us than the actual procedure that my wife had, for example.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you're working on to help with that?
It is so complicated, Dan.
You aren't kidding.
Get rid of secret contracts. Push the power to the consumer. When they get a bill in the mail, they should be able to figure out if they had an appendectomy or a tonsillectomy,
Yes.
a hip replacement or a knee replacement.
Yes.
Offer a level of charity care that equals the billions of dollars of tax benefit these entities get. And then stop weaponizing people's credit scores when they don't pay a bill they don't understand.
If I could just share something,
ahead.
I'm going to hold up to the camera a folder that I have. I don't know if you guys can see that. That is the paperwork from my wife's surgery. One surgery.
It's unbelievable.
It's literally 6 inches thick. And as you said, with the billing, these things come in, and there's things on there. I have no idea what they are. And I'm going to give credit to the doctor's offices, because when you call them and ask for explanations, they've been excellent. But it shouldn't have to get to the point where we're calling those doctor's offices almost weekly. And, the other side of it too is I don't think there's been a week in the last 9 months we haven't gotten something from our insurer. And I'm not complaining about them specifically, because in general, I think they've done okay, but it's just the whole process has been so convoluted. So I'm not an unintelligent man. I'm trying to put it politely. I get things. Heck, I have an accounting degree for what little that's worth. And I struggle with this stuff. I can't imagine someone who doesn't have even the little bit that I have would deal with it. What you kind of talked about, transparency and all that. Is it the insurance companies that are fighting it? Is it the hospitals? Probably a little bit of both. What is it?
I mean, there's so many cartels out there to talk about. There's the insurance cartel, the prescription drug cartel, of course, the hospital cartel. And, you talked about the providers a few minutes ago. The providers are as upset about this as you are. They don't like not being able to tell people what things cost. They don't like it at all. And the intake nurses don't like it at all. And the point is, we're not talking about a product that people have a choice whether they consume or not. We're talking about a product that people would rather not consume, Dan, because that would mean they're healthy. Your wife would rather not have had her knee surgery.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And then when you try to inquire what it costs, you're told it's none of your dang business. And then when you don't pay for something you don't want to pay for because you weren't told what it's cost, then they weaponize your credit score and punish you.
Yes. And the verbiage on the bill is so, there's no way that you can determine what they mean. And I think that's done intentionally.
Well, Dan, I don't want you to release any personal information about your wife, but did you see anything on there called a Mucinex procedure?
If there was, I don't remember it, but keep in mind, there's literally 6 inches of paper there over 9 months. There may have been something. I just don't know.
Okay. It's a box of tissue.
Is that really? Yeah.
It's $50. It's $50 and it's a box of tissue.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like what was the other one? The aspirin, aspirin cost you $20 for a 10-cent tablet.
Right. Well,
Now,
this is really happening.
Right. As far as the pharmaceutical companies, why is it that if you are prescribed a medication and one pharmacy can charge you $60 and the other pharmacy can charge you $100? It's the very same medication.
Right. And not only that, but we have seen contracts. Before I became the treasurer, I found a contract that had a gag order in it. Now, what that should mean to you is that, for example, I used to be on the state health plan. I don't mind telling you that it's a genetic thing, but I take 25 milligrams of Synthroid, which is a thyroid issue, and it's not a big deal.
I take it too.
And so anyway, I take 25 milligrams of Synthroid. And so I was on the state health plan. It cost $10 for a 90-day supply. Then when I was uninsured, when I was applying for the job to be the state treasurer, I went and got it filled again at the same place for the same quantity, for the same drug. It was $1.86.
Wow.
And I said, how could that be?
Yeah.
And you know what the pharmacist told me? That there was a gag order. And that they were prevented on the state health plan from telling our state employees if they could get it cheaper by paying cash versus using their insurance card. So just another valuable reason to listen to your show is that all of your listeners, if they're going to consume healthcare, consume prescription drugs, they need to ask first what the cash price is.
Yes.
And I can back this up myself, because for the very same prescription, probably, because I take a Synthroid also, I normally get it mail ordered, and it's $3.86 for 90 pills under my insurance. But I ran out, and there was a delay in the mail, so I just needed like a small supply. Called my doctor, they called it into the local pharmacy, just a 30-day supply to get me through, and it was 12 something. So not a huge amount of money, I'll grant that, but the very same medication, a third as much as I normally get, and 3 times the cost. And I did ask the pharmacist about it, and they said they didn't know. They just bill. I mean, I'm paraphrasing it, but they bill what the thing tells them to bill, is what the answer was.
Right. And how many millions of times does that happen in North Carolina a day?
Right.
And my point, and I don't want your listeners to get frustrated. I mean, I'm the largest consumer of healthcare in North Carolina on behalf of those that teach, protect, and serve. I want them to feel empowered that if I'm having this much trouble, then it really explains what they're going through. I want them to make sure they feel like they're not alone, because I am having this much trouble on behalf of 750,000 people.
I think we're all having that problem, but I think that we've taken the blinders off because we've had to. With the economy the way it is, I don't know about everybody else, but I'm watching my pennies a lot better. It amazes me that this medication that I take at one pharmacy, there was over a $40 difference. And of course, when asked, there was no explanation given. The little girl who was just a worker bee said, "I really don't know." So, I mean, I don't understand how that can be, but
I guess the question that I guess the question I have is, what can be done legislatively, if anything? And is it at the federal level or the state level, or both, that it has to be addressed?
The cartel controls everyone, everywhere. And only until the people rise up with the tattoo of Popeye on their forearm that says, "We can't stand it because we can't stand it no more," will it change.
So this is something that we all have to get on board with, right?
Right, because I'm sure you've used these 4 words on your show at some point in the past: conservative, liberal, Trump, Biden.
Yes.
Trump, Biden. The previous president issued an executive order to get rid of secret contracts. President Biden actually strengthened it, strengthened that executive order. And the Hospital Association, the Chamber of Commerce, gave them both the middle finger, both the previous and the current president. And the reason I use the word conservative and liberal is that until you conserve, which means to get more out of less, you can't liberate people.
Right.
You can't set them economically free. And the root of those 2 words is conserve and liberate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm trying to do on behalf of the taxpayers of North Carolina.
And you have done an outstanding job with everything that you have tackled. I know that you were rated by the Civitas Action the most conservative member in the House when you were a member of the House. And aren't they a far left people?
No, far right.
Far right. I'm sorry.
Civitas, yes.
Yeah.
Francis
Okay.
DeLuca. Francis DeLuca just had a stroke after you said that. No, I mean, they're a conservative think tank. But let me tell you what's so interesting about you bringing that report card up.
Okay.
Because everybody talks about stuff, nobody does squat. It seems like there's so many elected officials that they've achieved their whole legislative agenda just by being elected and not doing a dang thing after that.
Right.
The other reason I'm glad you brought that up is that I think this will shock you. When you're in school, I didn't do really well on my report cards, but when you're in school, you know what you're going to get graded on, right? These report cards by Civitas, you did not know what votes you were being scored on until after the end of the year.
Wow.
My point of telling you that is that conservative is not what you say. It's what you do when no one's watching.
Yep. I agree with you. I totally agree. I think that I probably realized this when a couple of years ago I was reading about you. And I guess in the article, the thing that impressed me the most was you made North Carolina one of the states with the lowest unemployment benefits because you fought to lower the amount and the length of unemployment. Mm-hmm. And I think that each and every state needs to follow suit with that.
Well, let me clarify that. Why did I do that or get involved in any of these other issues? Because there's not a mathematical choice. We're not talking about emotional choices or political choices. We're talking about mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is that when I was hired to fix the broken unemployment system, North Carolina had racked up a $2.7 billion debt.
Yep.
We were paying hundreds of millions of dollars a year in interest on that debt.
Yep.
Because there wasn't enough money in the unemployment trust fund. I found a person working in our building at the unemployment agency who was drawing unemployment.
Gosh.
That was how broken it was. So just to be clear, that bill that you're referring to, I think was House Bill 1, possibly, the unemployment insurance reforms, that was passed in February. I was not even considered to fix the unemployment agency until March. So I had nothing to do with setting the benefits, but I did have something to do with pushing the power down to the average state employee. Not all state employees, the state employees are fantastic. And they're there because, and there's taxpayers and citizens too. But we took the reform that the General Assembly passed and we operationalized it. And that resulted in the payoff of that debt in 30 months and a building of a $1 billion surplus.
Right.
Now, the reason that this should all matter to your listeners very quickly is this. They put triggers in there that if the economy was good, the unemployment compensation went down because it should be easier to find a job. And if the economy was bad, the benefits went up because it would be harder to find a job. That's the example of what I'm referring to, is talking to people like adults, and what they say makes common sense.
Right.
And that's exactly what I would say. That's a common sense approach to it.
Yes.
And something that needs to be done, not just with unemployment, but across the board with everything. I think you kind of touched on this. Everything's done emotionally these days. We don't step back and look at things pragmatically. Yeah, it's great to want all these different programs and to fund them, but the money's got to come from somewhere. And, I came from New York. I moved here about 3.5 years ago. So I've seen the other side of it, where there is no program that can't be done, and they'll throw billions of dollars at it. And it's literally breaking the backs of the middle class in New York. That's why they're all leaving. One of the reasons that I moved to North Carolina, and there were a few, but one of them was I looked at the fiscal stability of the state and saw how good it was and getting better, and that it had a more common sense approach. People thought it was because, well, they're a red state. No, it had nothing to do with that. It could have been, whatever color. What I was looking for is, how's it being run? Is it being run intelligently? Yes, you want to put in programs. Absolutely. But if you can't afford them, one, they're not going to be funded properly to do what they're supposed to do. And two, you're breaking the backs of the taxpayers, especially in an economy like we're in now, which you kind of brought this up. Where is the state overall right now, like fiscally sitting? Are we in good shape with this economy that we're in? What are your concerns moving forward with interest at 8%? Or inflation at 8% and so on. Where are your thoughts on that?
You're not going to believe this. Do you know what the letters NC stand for?
I'm waiting to hear your answer.
I know, but generally, when you see NC on a letter, what does it stand for?
North Carolina.
North Carolina, yeah.
Yeah, but for the purposes of your question, it stands for nothing compares.
I like it. Well done.
I wouldn't trade places with any other state treasurer in the United States. We have balanced our budget. We have an $8 billion surplus. We have established rainy day funds. And the state debt is going to decrease by 60% over 8 years. 60%. Now, if you took all of our ages combined, we'd be about as old as Calvin Coolidge would have been. That's the last time that any governmental agency reduced debt by 60% was during Calvin Coolidge.
And I think you deserve the credit for that as well.
Well, thank you, but let's put the credit where it belongs, with the employers and the taxpayers of our state.
But who implemented that, Mr. Folwell?
And the General Assembly, who has lived within its means and balanced its budget and built these surpluses. Thank you. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I feel that when you came on board and made common sense a directive, then things started to fall into place. And I think that everybody will agree with me, because things changed rapidly since 2017. When you think about it in years, it's not that long. But I believe that your accomplishments they were very quick and they were outstanding.
Well, I'm blessed to have a memory of my mother, who was a switchboard operator, who had to know the telephone extensions of every single employee at Baptist Hospital. And I think being in my business, it's great to have a good memory, but also a good work ethic from my father's family. And, you know, I just feel like that God possibly made each one of us better at something than someone else. Not better than anyone, better at than someone else. And I'm just trying to be the best state treasurer in North Carolina history and the best treasurer money can't buy.
Well, I believe you are. And I know a lot of people who agree with me. And on that note, we must break for a few minutes and pay some bills. So, folks,
Good.
please join us. Come back with Dale Folwell, North Carolina's best state treasurer.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you are a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
Folks, you must visit Angie's Fresh Produce, 4447 Long Beach Road, Southport. Beautiful fresh produce at a great price. Angie's has just about every vegetable you want. In-store shopping and pickup, and all wheelchair accessible. Call Angie's Fresh Produce at 910-477-9068.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
Are you nervous about joining a gym? Anxious about not being able to keep up with others in the fitness classes? Full Circle Fitness has your solution. We specialize in working with those just getting started on their fitness journey. Our coaches tailor each workout to you and your level of ability, so you don't have to worry about keeping up. There's no better opportunity to get started. Call today, Full Circle Fitness, 910-399-8350, or visit FullCircleFitnessNC.com.
The Boiling Spring Lakes Motel, located at 2 North Shore, is a peaceful and convenient place to stay. Newly renovated rooms with a comfortable back porch welcomes everyone. Discount rates are available to those who might need more time. Close to the beach, everything you need for a fun vacation. Call Stephanie at 910-845-2893. Boiling Spring Lakes Motel.
It seems like every other store is now selling CBD in some form or another. But did you know that Wilmington has just one local CBD company? I'm talking about Carolina Pure. Family owned and operated, they are Wilmington's first and only CBD company that makes quality hemp products right here in town, including tinctures, topicals, and pet products. Their hemp is sourced from local farmers, and they support area musicians and nonprofits. Check us out at carolinapureshop.com.
Welcome back, folks, to All Things Brunswick. Our guest this evening is Dale Folwell, our state treasurer. And I believe that our friend Dan has a question.
I do. And just a quick side note, by the way, that I just heard the commercial for Carolina Pure. We had them on our show, Living Fit After 50, last Friday. Go check that out. Anyway, for Mr. Folwell, I do have a question on the WECT, which is our local TV station here this morning. They had a segment on Project Grace. And I'll be honest with you, as I was watching it, they were very unclear about the whole thing. They had you on, they must have interviewed you, but it was, to this moment, I still really don't understand what the issues are. I do know that you have some concerns about the project and some changes you'd like to see made. Can you share with us and the listeners your concerns, what those changes are, and give us some more background?
Well, my concerns on any project as the chair of the local government commission center around transparency, competence, and good governance. And this project is coming before the local government commission to take a block of downtown Wilmington, which is owned by the county, not the city, tear down the public library, tear down the museum that's over across from the high school, combine those into one facility, and then give the developer who did all that the rest of the block to do a public-private partnership that and sell the rest of the block to that group for $2.5 million. Now, every time I say this on the air, people say, "Where do I sign up? I'll pay that for it." And my point is that the thing that's coming before us is actually a lease. And the lease is for $80 million. And if they were just to take the money and actually build the library, it cost about $46 million. So basically what they're doing is they're giving this development company, who I have no problems with, they're giving this development company an opportunity, in their own words, to make over an 8% profit, when the county can actually borrow money at 3% or even pay it out of their own cash flow. I just don't know why a county that's as strong as New Hanover County needs a partner in any way, shape, or form. And that's why I've been asking questions.
Well, especially in light of the fact they just sold the hospital for $1 billion. And I'll be honest with you, where's that money? I have no idea. So their goal is to sell. I mean, this is prime real estate you're talking about in downtown Wilmington. Prime real estate,
right.
And they're looking to get $2 million for it. 2 point whatever it was.
2.5.
2.5. It's got to be worth, I don't know,
who
4,
knows?
5, 10 times more at least.
I mean, who knows? I mean, the fact is, it should be. We asked for them to make this subject to upset bid, and what that means is that anybody who wants to pay more can. Isn't that how you're supposed to operate? Isn't that the transparency that you think the taxpayer deserve?
That's what the purpose of bidding is for, is to get the most you can.
Right. And so that's why I've asked such tough questions. And, you know, you can easily see why I'm making all the right enemies, because these are very powerful people. But I'll just tell you, and I don't take any joy in this, sometimes you got to make the right enemies to get to the right results. Right. And our job is to get to the right results.
So is their intention, they're going to tear down the library, and their intention is to build another one?
Next door.
Next door?
Yes. There's a parking deck. There's a library, a parking deck, and an empty lot. They're going to build the new library museum where the empty lot is, and then keep the parking deck there, and then tear down the library, and then sell it off to a developer for $2.5 million.
I mean, I can understand redoing a library. Okay, I'll buy that. But like you said, if you're going to do that and then get rid of the old property for $2.4 million, that's insane. They could probably get more than enough to cover the cost of the library, I'm guessing, or at least a good chunk of it just from that. Right. And it's not like the counties doesn't have funds of its own. Like you said, they could fund this themselves. instead of passing it along. But the transparency, I think, is the key issue on this. And you mentioned that it's that this is happening behind closed doors. And one of the issues that I think is happening a lot, specifically with New Hanover County, and I know we're all Things Brunswick, but we have a lot of people that listen from New Hanover County. The issue that I think a lot of people are seeing, it goes back to the hospital, right? The hospital got sold for $1 billion. I can't tell you the number of people that have either commented to me, asked me what I knew about what happened to the money. It's all over social media. Where is that $1 billion? No one seems to know. And of course, the county chair, Ms. Bozeman, was caught basically offering to give $50 million to a charity if they kept quiet about things. It really speaks to the lack of transparency. And is there something you as the state treasurer can do to basically open things up, if you will?
Well, number one, I chair the local government commission, and the person that sits with me on the local government commission is the state auditor, who you should have on your show sometime.
Okay.
Now, the state auditor, Beth Wood.
Okay.
Now, the state auditor and I are from different political parties. But I want to say this loudly, and I want to say it clearly. When she and I are in the same meeting on the same topic, and I'm actually the calm person in the room, somebody's having a bad day. Because the state auditor gets after it. And I think that she's a member of the local government commission, and she's obviously looking at this as well as everyone else.
Okay. I guess our producer TK said that we have someone on the line that has a question for Mr.
We do.
Folwell.
We have a guest who would like to ask Mr. Folwell a question. To go, TK.
Well, this is Ted, but I've heard Dale talk many times about a cartel, and for the benefit of us listeners, I'd like his definition of how he sees a cartel operating and how he can define our hospital and various other institutions as cartels. We kind of look at them as drug running operations out of Mexico, but how does that define it for us locally?
Good question.
Well, Ted, thank you for your question. I used to be a garbage collector and a motorcycle mechanic, and I started taking classes at Winston-Salem State and UNC Greensboro. And I stuttered more then than I do now. And I was advised by my professor that when I couldn't find the right word, to go to the Webster's Dictionary. Now, Ted, I used the word cartel because the Webster's Dictionary defines it as an association which is formed to restrict competition or raise prices. I used this word in Riceville Beach 3 months ago with the FBI Association convention. And I can tell you that when you use the word cartel in front of 200 FBI agents, you better know what you're talking about. This healthcare cartel, let's talk about a product. This healthcare cartel controls the quantity of their product through something called certificate of need. The first three letters of those words are pronounced CON, C-O-N. They control the quality of this product, and you see what's happened to the quality of healthcare in New Hanover County, in Brunswick County. They control the access to this product. They control the price of this product because it's secretive. And if you don't pay your bill, they will break your kneecaps and weaponize your credit score until you do. That is the definition of a cartel.
Okay. I appreciate the clarification because it's similar to what we see in the drug trade. So I guess that's what they specialize in, drugs and various things of that nature. So I appreciate your thoughts.
Yeah. Well, cartels can be lots of different things. So
they're basically a legal cartel is the way I would phrase it myself. Right. It's funny while you were talking about that. One of the things that kind of popped in my mind is my one daughter is allergic to several things, bees and things, and she requires EpiPens. Now, when she was younger, and I'm talking 1990s when she was growing up, you know, my then wife and I, we each had our EpiPen with us. We had them in each car. My daughter had one. There was one in her backpack, and we probably paid, I don't remember the exact amount, but it was no more than $50 for 6-7 EpiPens. Now you're talking upwards. I think my daughter said the last one she got was like almost $600. I mean, nothing's changed. The same drug for 30 years. The manufacturing costs cannot have increased, 20-fold. It speaks to price fixing. They know it's a product that you have to have.
Right.
You literally can't live without it. And they have the average person over a barrel. And, if she had to buy, say, 5 different pens, you're talking $3,000 as opposed to the $50 it was 20 years ago. So it's shameful.
Well, this is exactly why. By the way, I love this format. I don't know how many people are listening, but I love this format because, it gives us an opportunity to inform people, not just affirm, but inform. This is exactly why 2.5 years ago, our board of trustees of our state health plan, which I chair, decided to eliminate the cost of insulin for our state employees. The price of insulin, which I helped my grandmother take a shot in 1965, insulin hadn't changed that much since 1965. The price of insulin has tripled in the last 7 years.
Yep.
And I said, if people don't take their insulin, especially hard-headed males, then ultimately they get into a healthcare vortex that we can never get them out of.
Exactly.
So I wanted to remove all the barriers so that their people were not feeling punished or disincentive toward taking their insulin. Now, the reason that I do that is to conserve money. And the other reason I do that is that when people take their insulin, they can be liberated and have the joy of achievement in their life.
Yes.
And that's, I don't know, what did you call it a few moments ago, Kim? The culture of, you mentioned a something culture. I love that way you put that phrase together about 18 minutes ago. I don't know if you remember what you said 18 minutes ago, but I can't always do that. But you said a culture of something, a culture of common sense or a culture of conservatism, one or the other.
Common sense.
Yeah, so that's what we've tried to put in, even on insulin costs.
Right. Yeah.
And, insulin's another excellent example. You cannot live without it. If you are a type 1 diabetic, you need your insulin. And that it's at the point where it is now, we're in a tough economy. People are struggling to put gas in their car and food on their table. They have to make tough choices. And to your point that sometimes they're making what ultimately is the bad choice to avoid the insulin. I get why they're doing it. I'm not in any way disparaging them for it, but it should be minimal, if any cost. Frankly, I think it should be free across the board. It's been around for, as you said, many, many decades. The drug companies have more than recouped their costs on it. It's a profit maker for them. And that's why they jack the price up, because they know it's required. They know they can make a ton of money on it. It's pure profit to them at this point. And hence, it just feeds into what you call them, a cartel. They are a cartel.
Yeah. And it seems that some pharmaceuticals go even further because the drug that I take is mandatory, it's necessary. And it seems that one pharmacy is charging a lot more than another. And I attribute that to a different pharmaceutical company. Now, we have a guest who phoned in a little bit ago and stated that he finds the Good RX to be very helpful when he gets his medications. Are you familiar with that, Mr. Folwell?
Well, I am. And I think your listeners can probably get a good RX card at probably any counter of any drugstore. And I advise them to try it, especially as I stated earlier, when I'm on a maintenance drug like Synthroid, just try it.
Mm-hmm.
Try it for 90 days. And if you were paying $7.36 and now you're paying $2.28, keep trying it. But
Right.
this is an example of what it means to push the power to the consumer. And we should never be afraid to push the power to the consumer.
Exactly. Would you like to tell us a little bit about NC Cash?
Well, I would. And now, some people, not you, have told me that I have a face for radio.
Absolutely.
A face for radio.
I've been told the same thing. I get it.
Okay. So when people go to nccash.com and they don't see a picture of a guy who looks like Dale Folwell, the state treasurer of North Carolina, who looks like he has a face for radio, they're on the wrong website. So your listeners should go to nccash.com. There's 4 things they need to remember. One is that this is money where somebody tried to send to them at some point in time, but it did not get delivered.
Right.
Secondly, it stays there forever. Thirdly is there's no charge to look up your name and no charge to make a claim. And fourthly, if you've happened to lived in another state, they have the equivalent of nccash.com. So all of your listeners should go to nccash.com after the show's over and punch up their name, their maiden name, their kids' names, their parents' names, their church name, their nonprofit name, and they will be shocked what they're going to find at nccash.com. $1 million that belongs to churches. We've given out $105 million this year. And
Wow.
It's just another valuable reason to listen to your show.
And I have never heard of this until I heard it from you. Has this always been available?
For almost 40 years. Now,
Wow.
the official word, Kim, is the Sheets Division. But I mentioned earlier that I used to stutter, and I'm advised not to use that word on the air. It could come out incorrectly, and I'd be banned. So we're going to call it nccash.com. And you have a lot of fun with it.
I have a question regarding that. And I will tell you, I looked up mine on NC Cash. I have nothing, but I also, as I mentioned earlier, I come from New York, and I in the past have looked up in New York, and I got a check for, it was like $140 from an old insurance policy, car insurance policy.
Right.
So there's money to be found out there. But the question I have is, one of the other things I did was look up some of my deceased relatives. So I have an aunt who passed away roughly 15 years ago. Now, this is in New York, so I know it's different than North Carolina, but we aren't able to get that money because the way it goes to the next heirs, which would be myself, my sister, but there's a third heir that no one knows who it is, so it's kind of hung up. Is at some point, does that money, I'm assuming New York, North Carolina would all be the same, does that money still sit there forever? Or because we know it's there, but we can't claim it because there's a non-known or an unknown third party?
Right.
What would happen in that case? Where would those funds go? Or could we request they say be donated or something like that? Is there any provisions for that?
The national Sheets laws don't allow that. It does stay there forever. But, there are legislatures like ours that take $40-50 million of that money every year and put it towards scholarships. So it does get used for a good purpose.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, it's a couple $1,000s. We know that. It's not gonna, I'm not gonna win the lottery if I get this money. But my sister and I were talking about it. All right, we can't get it. We understand that. No beef with that whatsoever. But like we were thinking, well, could we request the state donate it to someone? Because my aunt's deceased. It's not like she's going to request the money herself. So maybe we'll look into that. If they have, I don't know if each state is different, but I think that would be a fantastic.
Well, no, you can't designate it be donated. The General Assembly goes in and takes it for their own purposes.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Is there anything else, Mr. Folwell, that you'd like our audience to be aware of this evening?
I just, if they like what they've heard, they should, and they want to hear more or read more or know more, just go to nctreasurer.com. Of course, nccash.com is sitting at that website. And
Right.
if they like the way that we've actually discussed these issues by attacking problems and not attacking people and talking to people like adults, they should recommend this for other friends to listen to. And we're just a situation where, everybody's feeling rage. And at the end of the day, people want somebody to vote for, not vote against.
Right. Is there, does our state treasurer have term limits?
No.
Okay. Is this something that you feel you want to do for a while?
Right now, I'm trying to be the best state treasurer in North Carolina history and be the best treasurer money can't buy. Now, what does that mean? What that means is that the temptations when you're managing one of the largest pools of public money in the world are as you can imagine, are unimaginable, actually, because everybody wants part of this $250 billion. But most recently in an article in journalnow.com, that's the Winston-Salem Journal, journalnow.com, or WRAL, there's been some recent stories over the last 5 days about interest in me running for governor. And I'm not interested in being called the governor. If I were the governor, I'd still love to come back on your show. But what I'm interested in is governing. It's a verb.
Mm-hmm.
Representative is a noun, but the representatives are supposed to represent, which is a verb, and that's what I enjoy doing. I enjoy fixing things.
Well, I must say that I am sure that our listeners, if they feel as I do, we appreciate everything that you have done for us. I would like to see you in this position to continue your good work. Of course, only if you want to be there. But once again, I can't thank you enough for everything that you have done for the state of North Carolina.
Well, thank you. And, there's still a lot more to do. And, we want to break the healthcare cartel. We want Novant to sell New Hanover Regional back to the community. So we can, and at half the price, because that's how many hundreds of millions of dollars it's going to take to fix it again.
Right.
And I always look forward to coming on your show, and hope I get invited back.
You certainly will. And we thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, and God bless you and all the folks in Brunswick County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We must break, folks, once again to pay a few bills. We'll be right back. Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, located at 8210 River Road, Southport, is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with the Tackle Box open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6. Marine Service Pro is a full Suzuki and Tohatsu dealership. They deal in pre-owned boats, full service and repair, with certified technicians in all engines, and fiberglass specialists. The Tackle Box offers fresh, local seafood, live bait, a tackle shop, and fish packing and shipping. They also offer a full-service U-Haul dealership. Spend time with Leon or Jenny for one-stop shopping at Marine Service Pro and the Tackle Box Seafood, 8210 River Road, Southport.
Veteran Awareness sponsored by You Are Not Alone. Today's veteran homeless rate is approximately 19,750, and the numbers are declining because of the various veteran programs. If you are a veteran you know is homeless, please call 877-4AID-VET. This is a confidential and toll-free call. From this veteran to other veterans, please be there to help our brother and sister veterans. Again, the number is 1-877-424-3838. And thank you for your service.
The Boiling Spring Lakes Motel, located at 2 North Shore, is a peaceful and convenient place to stay. Newly renovated rooms with a comfortable back porch welcomes everyone. Discount rates are available to those who might need more time. Close to the beach, everything you need for a fun vacation. Call Stephanie at 910-845-2893. Boiling Spring Lakes Motel.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist practicing in Wilmington. He accepts Medicare patients, and his office is located across the street from New Hanover Regional Medical Center at 2032 17th Street. The office number is 202-1071. Dr. Tony is an author whose last book is Rules for Conservative Patriots, and it can be purchased on Amazon. His website is www.drtonymag.com.
Folks, you must visit Angie's Fresh Produce, 4447 Long Beach Road, Southport. Beautiful fresh produce at a great price. Angie's has just about every vegetable you want. In-store shopping and pickup, and all wheelchair accessible. Call Angie's Fresh Produce at 910-477-9068. Welcome back, everybody. Gosh, this hour has just flown by with our special guest, Dale Folwell, the great treasurer of North Carolina. We are so fortunate to have him. We must go for another week. Please tune in next week when we have Patricia Drew and possibly a couple of other trustees from the Library Board of Brunswick County. We will talk about the libraries and what's going on in that part of the world. Dan, thank you so much for joining us on Zoom.
Oh, yeah, it was an absolute pleasure for me. A little different than we normally do, but I'll be with you next week.
Good.
And also, just a quick note for all the listeners, don't forget Living Fit After 50, Fridays at 1 p.m. and repeated here on the Big Talker Network. This week, we are doing a Q&A. Lori and I have we're going to call it a buttload of questions that we have stacked up that we're going to answer because we haven't done that in a while. So it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. And if anybody's got any questions for that, feel free to reach out to us. And I'll throw it back to you, Mary.
Great. Thank you. I love your show. It's awesome.
Oh, thanks.
You do a great job.
Lori's the star of it, not me.
You folks are able to call in and ask questions during our broadcast. Of course, remember that we live stream on Facebook and YouTube. And if there is anything in particular that you wish to see or hear, please let us know. From all of us at All Things Brunswick, thank you so much. Come back.
Have a great week, everybody.